institutions, we have desired to, and so far been able, to admit people to Emory simply because we feel they are qualified and they can match and they can succeed as you are succeeding. It is only after such students are admitted that we understand something about their financial circumstances and offer financial aid. The result of that process, of course, means that financial aid is an expensive proposition for Emory, and has gotten more expensive recently. You know, the economic downturn has had a very real impact. This, your parents, if they were typical, or parents of your colleagues, really didn't so much save for college education for their kids. They were told by the real estate agent, buy the biggest house you can possibly buy, and that you will have home equity. Well, home equity sank with everything else. So we actually have increasing need for financial aid. In fact, the net tuition that we get, even with slightly rising tuition, when financial aid has to rise to meet that, the net tuition Emory gets is flat for right now. So the reason theirs is one of the toughest questions is that we need to be able to find, other than operating dollars, to fund this for people of the future. We remain committed to the program. The Board of Trustees was presented with this issue a year ago, and you can be proud of them. They said, no, we're going to remain need blind. But we are working through philanthropy. We also want to look at special ways that we might find additional revenue sources for the university. So I wish I had, this is the answer to that, but I can tell you as I stand here today, we are, as much as circumstances will permit us, you know, you can never say this absolutely, and much more than universities already who have backed off on their financial aid, we are committed to finding a solution to this in order that there can be many, many more people like you going forward. Thanks for
Thank you very much.
I would like to thank you. I think you're very inspirational, and I very much appreciate the deep thought and that you put into all your comments. I particularly like the idea of taking risk, the idea that in order to be a true leader, you have to take risk, you have to be willing to fail. I think we need that also in our internal policies. One of the things I'm concerned about is that we're too cautious from a legal point of view, from a regulation point of view. It is very hard right now to be on the cutting edge of the latest research. It's just too hard to get it done.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I think we need some ideas on this. Actually, in the prior hour, there was a conversation begun on this in the University Senate, a conversation I hope the Senate will continue. But taking risk has become almost too expensive in some ways. I mean, we are in a culture right now that enjoys tabloid journalism. They like finding a goof that somebody has made. That holds us back. Emory, in particular, is under the microscope with certain funding agencies owing to some complications we've had in the past about appearances of conflict of interest. So we're really watching our P's and Q's. I'm wondering, and we've talked about this, we wondered about how it is we could pool some of our internal resources to actually encourage risk, particularly scholarship risk and research risk. And in fact, you heard me say that an inventory is underway on the Provost office to try to look at the monies that we spend already. But let me just offer you something really more rhetorically, although I use a number. What would it mean if we had a fund where our target as we fund research initiatives, only initiatives, fund research initiatives over years, our target would be to see a 50% failure rate. What would that mean? I'm just trying to get your head thinking in that direction. Certainly, there are very, very few organizations off the campus that are supporting that kind of work. And to the extent that the 50% that do succeed, they should be wonderfully attractive for outside investment and collaboration. I would, as I say, I look forward to the conversation with the University Senate about how to do that sort of thing, and also how to transfer the regulatory risk as best we can to the administrative side of the House. The phrase that was used was a great phrase. We shouldn't be trying to keep people in compliance. We should be trying to help people be compliant. In other words, we shouldn't become an institutional police force around this, but we should become the educators and the facilitators and whatnot that take the burden away from our scholars and away from our researchers. We don't have quite the solutions for that right now, but as I said, one of the things we are looking for is the way we fund internally research initiatives. Does that get to your question? No, apparently not. Come on.
Oh, I think it's great, and I think the very first thing you should do is make Emory IT one group.
You just made somebody real happy. Yeah, I don't know if Rich wants to respond to that or not. But I think we're moving in that direction. We are very much moving in that direction. Rich, any comment?
I think that's the path we're trying to head down.
Yeah, you made him happy. You know, looking out over the audience, I think probably a couple more questions. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, President Wagner. At the beginning of this year, you asked, quote, "Is it really possible for a university to be ethically engaged as Emory in its vision statement calls itself to be?"
Right.
President Wagner's answer was maybe. Our answer is yes. We hold the good judgment and response of workers, faculty members, and students as our standard. This afternoon, we asked President Wagner to match the ethical engagement of the most marginalized workers on campus. President Wagner, will you translate the good words of principle into responsible practice by providing fully subsidized MARTA passes for all campus workers, like all other Emory employees, by October 3rd, when fares will increase by almost 40%?
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks for the question again. For those of you who aren't aware, this happens to be specifically a question that was addressed in the document presented to the University Senate last week. And again, that's really a question, actually, not again, that turns out more specifically to be a question for Sodexo in terms of what benefits they will pay. And actually Sodexo responded that they're in a little bit of a bind right now and they're under pressure for unionization to offer any sweetening of the pot. Turns out actually to be illegal. But I think nevertheless, we may have some recommendations about core benefits that could, again, come out of our process. Let me say something more broadly, though. You know, I appreciate the sort of the passion that you expressed through the tactics that you're involved today. That's not to say I appreciate the tactic or tactics, but I do appreciate your passion. Please understand that we have no monopoly on what is ethical and what is moral. I am not claiming that we are, absolutely solve these issues or have absolute addresses to each of the questions, particularly as they have to relate to ensuring that we have fully taken care of every corner of workers' rights. But I do proclaim to you that it is our intention to pursue that as best we can. The reason ethically engaged is a phrase in our vision statement is not because we've achieved it, it's because we will pursue it. I remind you that vision statements for a university are as much statements of confession as they are statements of self-approval. Obviously, if we had already achieved all the things in the vision statement, it would not be visionary. So please understand that we actually do believe that we are pursuing as best we can an ethical process, a process of making decisions based on moral principles, and a series of processes that we hope best serve our Emory community and those who we support through contract engagement. You need to understand we are pursuing and doing our best. Final question.
Yes, President Wagner, thank you for your time today. I just wanted to ask you, the past 175 years, this year we've been going over and addressing the partnership between Georgia and Emory, and I just want to ask, looking forward to the next 175 years, how do you see that partnership continuing?
That's a terrific question. The partnership between the state of Georgia and Emory, and it's not, we've been working very specifically on that in a project we call Atlanta Matters, so we're starting in our local region. It is being managed through Ron Sauter's office, our Senior Vice President for Communications and Marketing. But you know, the reason I think this is an especially good question is you heard me slip in a little line in here. Maybe you didn't. You made a mistake point, but it was a line that says it's been that recognizes that developing great universities in the American Southeast has been difficult. Interesting, isn't it? And I'm wondering if that's not because there is something wrong in the soil or something wrong in the water, but rather something untapped. And I think it would be exciting to commit ourselves to what it means to partner better. Maybe partner better with some of the existing academic institutions that are here, partner better with the community and local organizations, partner better with governments. And imagine sort of a new way to be not just in Atlanta, in Georgia, but of Atlanta and of Georgia in such a way that it brings strength to both parties. I don't have a formula for that. But you've actually asked, I think, a very, very important question, and I'd love to see it addressed. For everyone's care for Emory and for everyone's patience under particular circumstances this afternoon, I thank you all for coming here. There's food to be enjoyed, and I look forward to mingling with you. Thank you all.